welcome back to my channel. I'm Haley from the blog Handy Homemade, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks for thrifting and antiquing if you are a beginner. I'm going to be bringing you along with me to the thrift store, some antique shops, and even the farmer's market. I haven't written a blog post about the farmer's market yet. That's something that I'm planning on doing. I would really like to share some things that I like to pick up from the farmer's market, as well as why I think shopping at your local farmer's market is so much better than shopping at your local grocery store. The first tip that I have for you is learn how to bargain. I know this can be nerve-wracking, it can be intimidating if you're not sure what to ask or what to say. Usually at the antique stores I shop at, they have booths that are rented by different people, and sometimes the owner is there when I'm shopping. If that happens, I give them a figure. So would you take X amount of dollars for this item? And they will either accept, counter, or decline. Usually they counter or accept it. I like to come off $10 or $15 depending on the item. Sometimes less than that. It just all depends on the price of the item that I'm wanting to purchase. But I like to give them a figure rather than asking them what is the lowest they will take. Sometimes I ask them that. It really all depends, but I prefer to give them a number. Another thing is don't be afraid to bargain at thrift stores. A lot of people don't think about doing this, but if it is a locally owned thrift store and not a chain, you will be surprised at the wiggle room you may have at these thrift stores. I was able to pick up this beautiful mirror. I paid $30 for it. They are asking $40, but it has a piece missing out of the corner. And I got a discount for it all by asking. You guys, the worst that they can say is no. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to bargain, even at thrift stores. Another tip that I have for you is always keep a running list in your phone. I know I talk about Pinterest and Instagram all the time. I will link mine down below if you would like to follow along. I would really appreciate it. But I like to use Pinterest or Instagram as inspiration for items that I'm wanting to thrift. So if I come across a wicker basket that I like on Pinterest, I will take a screenshot of it, save it in an album, and then immediately add it to a list in my notes app. I have a running list of thrifted items that I want to find, and by doing this, it cuts down on the overwhelm that you may feel when you walk into a thrift store or an antique shop. Sometimes when you go into them, if they're not curated or they're not, as clean as you would expect them to be, there will be bins, there will be, stacks and stacks of items that you have to sort through and dig through, and it can be a little overwhelming. Having that list keeps me focused. It keeps me, in track on what are the items that I'm looking for, what is it that I want, and I don't end up coming home with a bunch of items that don't fit my style or that don't, have a specific purpose or place that I want to put them in my home. Along with keeping a list in my phone, I also suggest keeping measurements. So if there's a specific space in your home that you think you want to put a piece of furniture, or that you want to put, maybe a gallery wall or a piece of artwork, I suggest having measurements for it, having the height and width of the wall that you want to put it on, but also the depth. This is so important because if you are buying a piece of furniture and you don't want it to stick out too far, or you have an idea of how far you want it to come out from the wall, it's important that you measure that depth so that you know when you're at the thrift store or at an antique shop if that piece will fit into your space. Another suggestion that I have for you is to always, always, always keep a tape measure on you. I have a very small one that I keep in my purse at all times. I never go anywhere without it. I will link it down below or in my blog post if you want to purchase it. It's super lightweight, super tiny. It takes up practically no space at all, but it comes in handy, and I cannot tell you how many times I have went to the thrift store, went to the antique shop, fell in love with a piece of furniture, and have not been able to measure it because I did not have a tape measure on me. And I know they make apps with tape measures, but I don't really trust those. I prefer to have one in my hand that I can use and measure off myself. And so I always, always, always suggest having it with you because you don't want to have to go home, get your tape measure, come back, and run the risk of the piece being gone or being sold. Another tip that I have for you is don't be afraid to dig. I know that some of the bins can be a little gross, but you would be surprised at the treasures that you will find at the bottom of the bin. Don't be afraid to sift through the shelves. I like to look at the items on the back of the shelves. Sometimes at thrift stores, those are generally priced cheaper than the items on the front of the shelf because the ones on the front are the pieces that they think will draw more people in or get somebody's attention, and so they price them a little bit higher. Not always, but don't be afraid to dig around. Don't be afraid to get on your knees looking for the objects that you are searching for. And last but not least, be patient and consistently go back. I can't tell you how many times that I have come home with carloads, multiple carloads full of items. And then there's times that I come home with nothing at all. You have to consistently go back. The turnover is fairly quick, and you never know what you're going to find. Just because you don't find it one time doesn't mean that you won't find the item that you're looking for the next time that you go. My mom and I go back about every other week or at least once a month to get in and see what new items do they have. Do they have what I've been looking for? But it's just so much fun when you do find the items that you've been wanting, that it just brings this joy to your soul that I can't really explain, especially when you get it for a good deal. So don't get discouraged if you don't find something your first outing, if you don't end up with all the things that you hope for. Keep going with that because I promise you will feel like a kid on Christmas when you do find that perfect item for your space. So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you subscribe and stick around. Check out my blog post if you would like to read it. It'll be linked down below. And don't forget to, check out the tape measure down below as well. I highly suggest it, especially if you carry around a purse with you, or especially smaller purses. It fits perfectly. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and until next time, friends, bye!